Hello, friends. This is Asia, and for the first time, you're hearing me speak English because actually my podcast was done for the Latin community. You know, I always was looking for people to learn from in YouTube, and I couldn't find good content in Spanish. So that's why I started the podcast. But through the years, when I was watching YouTube videos, Ray Higdon would pop up, and I started watching and I started learning, and it was amazing for me because I've sometimes been shy. I'm a late bloomer in social media. So when I was opening this podcast, I thought it would be amazing to have Ray Higdon here. Let me tell you a little bit about him for whoever doesn't know him, because he's really famous. He's a rock star in social media. Ray is the founder of the Ray Higdon Group. He's an entrepreneur. He's a network marketing trainer and coach. He's written books. He's taught thousands and thousands of people, thousands of hours of video. And he's also best known for his expertise in network marketing and hitting ranks, which is also amazing. So please help me welcome the man who's helped thousands build success in network marketing, the amazing Ray Higdon. Welcome, Ray.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Ray, for people who don't know you, why don't we start there? Why or how did you get introduced to network marketing, and what inspired you to pursue this as a career?
Yeah, so, some people come to this profession due to inspiration, some out of desperation, and I was out of desperation. I had been doing real estate for several years, and then when the market crashed, I was wiped out. So, and I mean wiped out. So I lost a partnership. I went through divorce. I was in foreclosure. I was $1 million in debt because I had, pulled money out of different things to try to keep the real estate thing going, and it all came crashing down. And so it was a really, really tough time in my life. And so I came to network marketing because I didn't have money. I had, I think, 2 credit cards left that hadn't figured out I'm not paying them. No one was hiring because I'm here in Florida and everyone was affected by the real estate crash. And so, I joined network marketing, and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to figure this out. And I had tried it before, but I'd never gotten it to really work. I mean, it had some success, just little, here and there, but, I was really determined this time. And so I joined that company in 4 months, I was at 10,000 a month. 7 months, I was at 50,000 a month, and became the #1 income earner in that company. Made millions with them. And that was, and all of that was before I ever did any coaching or any training or courses or anything like that. And so I'm just very, very grateful for the profession. Although I no longer build a team, I now work at the industry level and work with a lot of leaders. I work with, probably 20 #1 earners of their companies and help them with duplication, systems, marketing, social media, et cetera.
Yeah, you're amazing. And now that you're talking about your challenges, what do you see are some of the biggest challenges that people face when starting network marketing, and how can they overcome these challenges?
Yeah, the first challenge out of the gate is, network marketing is unique, right? If you get a new job, right, even if that job is terrible, right, you're like, hey, I'm cleaning toilets, like everyone will be like, oh, way to go, good job. If you say, I just joined network marketing, some people are like, oh man, you. And so that's a weird experience for most people. Now, it wasn't that weird for me because I've been an entrepreneur, for a lot of my life in some way, shape, or form. So in middle school, I was selling candy. I was selling 80 to 90 Airheads a day. I'd buy them for 10 cents. I sold them for a quarter. And so I was always doing weird stuff. I remember, she doesn't like this story, but my mom bought me Air Jordans when I was like in, I think 8th grade, and I sold them. Like I was always trying to make money. I was always is not a good son. But I was always doing weird stuff. So I was used to people not agreeing with me. So it wasn't that big a deal for me. But for some people, they've never done anything and not get acceptance, approval, and agreement from their friends and family members. So it's kind of jarring to them. And they're like, am I wrong or something? And, the truth is, their opinions don't pay your bills, and you should not seek acceptance, approval, agreement. And I'll give you a quick example around this. So I had a girl on my team, and she joined when she was 21 years old. And first thing, she went to her family members, and they all like, that's stupid. Why are you doing that? And she's like, all right. And I taught her how to recruit on Facebook, how to recruit strangers on Facebook. And so she just started following my system. She gets to $10,000 a month. Her two brothers joined, her mother joined, and her dad built her a spreadsheet. And the reason I know that story so well is that's my now wife, right? And so, we've been married now 12 years, but when she started, when we were first dating, that was her experience. Most people, that go home to their family and get made fun of just quit, right? They think that, I'm just not meant to do this, but she was a little tougher than most people. And so, it's very easy for people to not agree with your goals when they're different than their own, but you go out there and prove it anyway, and you will win people over and they'll want to work with you.
Yes, actually, I went to my friends. They were so mean. That took me like 9 months, maybe a year to recover. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I lost a year.
Yeah.
I was thinking of quitting. It was terrible, but then I wanted to get some revenge. So I'm not saying revenge is good, but at least it got me out of depression, and I wanted to continue. So it's amazing. So now that you're talking about social media and how you taught her, because that's how I found you many years ago.
Yeah.
In YouTube. What can you say? Because we always teach this is a warm market business, a belly to belly business. So how did social media get in the model of network marketing where there's not the intimacy, where you cannot feel the person who wants to recruit you? What can you talk to the people about that?
Yeah. So, I was teaching social media back in 2009, which back then, most people were like, you can't do that. And I remember at the very first company event I went to, this guy came up to me and he goes, hey, I hear you recruit a lot of people off Facebook. And I said, yeah, I do. And he says, I prefer duplication. And he walked away, right? And it was, I think 4 months later, I was the number one earner of that company. And I was a little spiteful back then. So I did I did point at him from the stage. But back then people didn't think you could duplicate. They thought that, that it was hard and it was weird. And I always saw social media as an extension of communication. And nowadays, there's been studies done that more people believe their closest friends are on social media than in their neighborhood. There are more people that believe that. And whether you agree with it or not, that doesn't matter. It's what they believe. Right. And so through the technology of Zoom and through the technology of live video, you can build relationships. And I remember, because I've just been doing a lot of videos over the years, a lot. And I remember one event, my son was there, my oldest son, who's 25, and he's standing there, and this guy rushes over to him and he goes, Brandon, so good to see you. And my son's like, hey. And the guy was like, you have no idea who I am. And he's like, oh yeah, I watch you, but you don't watch me. But he felt like they were like best friends. They've never met. And so you can build relationships through video, especially again with Zoom and live video. And I remember, man, when there's a lot of companies that fought me on this way of thinking until the pandemic. When the quarantine happened, I had companies coming out of the woodwork to have me do a training. I did 76 Zoom sessions in 10 days for Italy, Ireland, Spain, Malaysia, Singapore, all over Africa, all over England, all over the United States, all over Canada. All of a sudden, all these companies who'd been, like, no, you got to be face to face. They're like, that's no longer an option. we need to have someone come in and help us. And so I just started working with a lot of new companies there that had, turned me down in the past. But, the fact is, and don't get me wrong, I love local relationships. I love face-to-face. For me, it's not as scalable in that I can have a Zoom meeting every hour of the day, not change, not, you drink water here. And I can get a lot more meetings done than I can at a Starbucks or a Panera Bread. But that doesn't mean I don't like those. And it doesn't mean there's not a place for them. There absolutely is. And the truth is, I prefer to recruit local people because I like to have events. I like to have barbecues and pool parties and bring people together. And to me, the mistake is saying that there's one way is the only way. So I don't say social media is the only way, just like I don't say offline is the only way. And so these are all options, and they're wonderful options.
And you know a lot of people in network marketing. You know who's successful, who's not, who's famous, who's not. Do you see people growing right now massively, mainly through social media, or do they do both, events and social media, the top money earners?
Yeah, definitely varies. Definitely varies. I was just hired to speak at a team event in California, and I would say they're a pretty unique team. I would say they're probably 60% offline and 40% online. I just did a leadership training for 3 female leaders. And for them, they're like 95% online. And so it varies. It really does. The cool thing is with Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, TikTok, etc., those things really made customer acquisition a lot easier and expansion of your market a lot easier. So before Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, TikTok, if you wanted to market to people that didn't know you, you had to pay money. You had to buy ads. You don't have to do that anymore. It's incredible. I mean, we have students that are not influencers that have videos of 20 million views. And just to put that into perspective, about 10 million people watched the last Olympics. Just think about that. And they didn't spend a dime. And so we're in a marketing arena like we've never been in before. I've been a full-time marketer for 17 years. We've never been in a more marketer-friendly scenario than we are right now. And so again, though, I prefer if I can recruit someone way over there or someone local, I'm going to prefer to recruit them local because I get a double dip, right? I can still communicate with them through social media, but I can also invite them over for a team training or a barbecue or something like that. And so those who are, I would say if there is a common thread of who's growing the most, it is those that have an emphasis on customer acquisition. I think many years ago, opportunity acquisition was the name of the game, and that's what most of us did. That is harder because there's so many options, right? With crypto and with this and that, there's so many options out there. It's hard to get the attention of people and say, hey, come make money over here. It's better if you're leading with a product or a service that helps them, and then you can introduce the opportunity to them.
This is very important for us Latins to understand. Yes, thanks so much. And can you talk about what are some of the most common mistakes that people make when trying to build their business, and how can they avoid these mistakes? Because I can see it. I mean, I've been here many years and I made all of the mistakes. I wasn't a get rich overnight story. Yeah. I wish I were. I mean, it took me many years to just understand and decide to do this professionally. So I made all the mistakes. What do you see are the most common mistakes of people who are just starting or trying even to rebuild or relaunch their business?
Yeah, several things. One, like I talked about before, seeking acceptance, approval, and agreement. That's a mistake. I read an article, this was back in the, I think, late 90s, where they were trying to oust Jeff Bezos from Amazon. And they actually, in the article, they call him Jeff Bezos, or should we say Bozo? Like they called him Bozo. And it was his company that he started because for over 20 years, Amazon was not profitable. Now it's one of the most profitable companies on the planet, right? He's one of the wealthiest, he's one of the top 5 wealthiest people on the planet, right? So it would seem crazy to try to, oust him. That makes no sense at all. But, just know that everyone goes through these periods where they feel like they're being rejected or they really are being rejected. And you just have to stick with it. We have a student that her name's Amy. She lives up in Canada, and she, for 17 years, she had been in network marketing in different companies, trying this, trying that, trying this. In 17 years, she had never made more than she spent. She finds our social media training. She's now $1 million earner in a company. Now think about that, 17 years. Now you have to be really tough. I mean, you got to be a rhinoceros to go through that kind of length of time of failure. But do you think that matters to her now? No, she's making it rain. She's crushing it. And so knowing that not everyone's going to accept, approve, and agree with your decisions, knowing that often the greatest stories aren't born overnight, right? And there's just so important to have that patience. And even biblically, right? We will reap if we do not grow weary, which is, from Galatians. And so like you will reap if you do not grow weary. You will reap if you stay on the path, if you stay consistent. And consistency is one of those things that either you're a workaholic, crazy person like I am, and perhaps you too, right? Or, and consistency is not a big deal, or you really struggle with it. And that's something that there's a lot of training I do around being more consistent, but one of the things is you need to stop waiting to feel like doing the work, because you're not going to. I never felt like doing the work. I never felt like getting rejected. I never felt like reaching out to people. I did it, and then I got results. I never waited to feel like it. And that's a big mistake. I also think an interesting mistake is some people will go to social media and they will market their product or opportunity or whatever. And then they're upset because they know that their friends and family members are seeing it, but none of them are signing up. That's not the way to think. See, when your friends and family see your social media, they think that's for other people, not for them. Because if you cared for them, you would reach out to them. And so I absolutely agree with reaching out to your friends and family members. Even though we teach social media, definitely reach out to your friends and family members as soon as you are cool with whatever they say. Now, if they say no, that doesn't make them toxic, right? And, just because they say no to you, that may mean they just aren't interested versus, they have to support you like it's a friend tax or something. And so I think, just being a little bit cooler with, it's okay if someone says no to you. I had a lot of people say no to me that eventually said yes, and that's okay. So those are some of the more common mistakes.
And now that you mentioned to be open to whatever they say, when I started listening to YouTube, because I'm a YouTube, fan. I can. My husband might thinks I'm crazy. I listen to it all the time, and I've heard other let's say social media teachers in YouTube, and I realize all those scripts come from you. Could you? I've known you for many years, and I thought, oh, that's Ray Higdon. That's Ray Higdon. What would you say to people who? Because let me tell you, our team, our community, sometimes don't listen to US or English videos, because before YouTube didn't have the option of subtitles. Now they're getting into it more and more. So could you share the main script you share to contact people in social media?
Yeah. So, and what's important to know is, anyone can give you a script, right? Does it work? That's the question. So, we have a group called Rank Makers, and we started tracking their results in 2018. And since 2018, they've brought in over 300,000 new customers, 71,000 new reps, and they've achieved 14,000 rank advances. So we know this stuff works. In fact, we have several stories like this, but one that pops out is we have one student. Her name's Christina Danielle. She's been the #1 recruiter in her company for 3 years straight. And she does it 100% from people she don't know on social media using our scripts. And what's funny about that, what's even more funny about that, so she beats out all influencers, she beats out everyone. She beats out everyone in the entire company for 3 years. She's been the #1 recruiter. And what's funny is she's part of her company is a pet food company, and she doesn't have a pet.
Ooh, wow.
So she'll go to the park and take pictures with other people's dogs, and she's #1 recruiter in the company. And so our main script, it really has 2 options. And first of all, this is not for other network marketers because we don't teach that. Other network marketers are, believe it or not, more skeptical than regular people. So when you reach out to them with an opportunity, they're going to say, "Hey, I see what you're doing here." No, right? They're going to be skeptical. They're going to be cynical. And sometimes they can downright be mean. And so this is for people not in network marketing. And it comprises of really 2 options, and that's location or occupation. And so someone you don't know, you would message them and say, "Hey, I know we don't know each other. I see that you're a realtor. We happen to work with a lot of realtors to help them make extra money on social media. Is that something you'd be open to learning more about? And if not, no big deal." So it's like, think about it. You're telling them, why you reach out to them, what you're wanting to talk about. You're getting to the point. You're not beating around the bush, which people appreciate. And, it's up to them. They may say yes, they may say no, but they shouldn't be angry because you told them, "Hey, if you're not open to it, great, no big deal," right? The second option would be location. So it could be, "Hey, I know we don't know each other. I see that you're in Dallas, Texas. I'm looking to expand into Dallas. Would you be open to taking a look at what we're doing to make extra money? If you're open to it, great. If not, no big deal." And so what you'll find is normal people, they're at least not offended by that. If they say no, because maybe they're focused, maybe they're not looking for another opportunity, that's fine. If they say no, then you build rapport. So if I say, like the realtor example, and someone says, "No, I'm focused on my real estate," I say, "Cool. How long have you been in real estate? What type of real estate do you do?" And I'm going to build rapport. And I've recruited so many people that said no initially, but because I didn't rebuke them, because I didn't like cast them out and say, "Beat it, dummy," right? Because I wasn't weird to them. And I just, stayed in a relationship with them, they ended up joining me. And so very simple scripts, anyone can say. You don't need influence. You don't need a big brand. You don't need much, but anyone can do that. And we've equipped a lot of people to do that.
Wow. Actually, when I heard your script a few years ago, well, many years ago, I loved it because it felt warm. It felt you were including me. It didn't feel aggressive, but there were like hardcore network marketers who are like, "No, that's weak." When you say like, "If you don't want it, no big deal." Why do you feel it works? I mean, why do you know it works? Because I always disagreed with them. And I know when I even taught it, they didn't like it. They never used it, but I still use it today. And I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Why does it work? I mean, you pretty much said it, but what can you say to a skeptic that doesn't believe that believes that you're de-edifying your huge opportunity?
So, I mean, it's just based in psychology, right? So think about really any situation, right? So the people that would disagree with it are two types of people. Both don't understand psychology, but the influencer, right? Because I'll have influencers say, "Oh, sending messages, that's terrible." You know why? Because they don't need to. They're basically like a celebrity. They can post a breakfast burrito and everyone's like, "Yay," right? And it's like, "Hey, good for you," right? Do what you do. I'm not saying you should use this, right? But just recognize not everyone on your team is an influencer, right? Imagine that. The second type of person is a person that doesn't understand a key concept in sales psychology, and that's position. So your language and your communication should always be based on the position of the prospect. Okay. So let me give you an example. So, and this is true of anything in sales. So if I go to I'll give you a couple examples. So let's say I'm an attorney and someone says, and I go to someone and say, hey, I'm a really, really good attorney. You should hire me. And these are my fees. And everyone else out there sucks. You should definitely work with me. You going to work with me? You ain't going to work with me. But if I said, hey, I'm an attorney, I have a lot of experience in this, if you'd like us to chat, I'm happy to, and if you got another option, fine. You would probably lean more toward actually like, he doesn't need my business. Yeah. See, notice, right? The person that's desperate and needy, that's not the person that wins. That's a person that repels people. So let me give you another example. So let's say I'm like, Aja, wow, you are gorgeous. And we should go out on a date because I'm a really good man. I'm a really good catch. And you should totally snatch me up, right? You'd be like,
Scared.
Who are you? Right? You'd be like, what? Right? It doesn't work. Why? Because I'm talking out of position. Okay. So everyone, unless we have prior information, is at position 0. Position 0 means they're not ready to buy. They're not ready to move forward. We have no idea if they're interested. So we have to first see, are they interested? Right? Not are they ready to buy, because they're not. We don't have any information. So when I say, hey, would you be open to take a look at what I'm doing? If not, no big deal. That is a very nonchalant way and a calm way for me to say, I don't need you, right? Sorry, I don't need you. But, if you're open, if you'd like to learn more, I'm happy to share it with you. And if you say yes, then I can go to the next position. That's not that you never hype out of position. So I'm never going to say, hey, I'm part of this new project. It's ground floor patent pending. It's $1 billion opportunity. It's absolutely awesome. You should totally join. Which credit card you want to use, right? They're like, no, thanks. Because it's out of position. It makes no sense. And, sometimes when someone is influential, they can get away with that kind of thing, but it can never duplicate because it just goes against human psychology. And so it's, how do we make people understand that we don't need them? We're not like, pretty please join me, right? Because there's no power in that. I mean, if you want to see how desperation doesn't work, go to the bank when you really need a loan. They'll call security. I really need a loan. Help me out. They're like, security, get them out of here, right? Like nobody is convinced by desperation or neediness. And that's why the script helps. Now, nothing will convert 100%, nothing. But you have your greatest chance if you come in with no desperation, no aggression, no hype, and you just come up and you just say, hey, I'm doing this thing. If you're open to it, great. It's not a big deal to me if you want to do it or not, but if you do, I'll share it with you.
I think it's amazing. I think that script that you developed is amazing. And I know it will help many people who also don't feel so confident or who haven't made much yet. I mean, you can't speak so big. So I think that was brilliant. That's when I started following you and I thought, this guy is amazing. So now let's talk about ranks, because you are a specialist in people hitting ranks. What are the main things that people need to focus on to get to higher ranks? What is the secret, if there is one?
I mean, I would say it's the two biggest factors are, one, keep doing the work, right? Some people, they get a few people in and then they climb up in the lifeguard chair and say, all right, boys, get to work. And they stop working. And so here's the thing. You don't know who you recruit that's going to go on and do the work. You have no idea. So you have to continue to do the work. And I'll tell you a funny story. So I was in this company and I'm 4 months in. Okay. And 4 months in, I don't know exactly, but I'd recruited probably maybe 45 people, right? Because I'm a pretty solid recruiter. I do work, right? And so I was like 45 recruits, and guess, just I'll let you guess, what do you think the size of my team was? What's your guess?
If you recruited 45 people?
Yeah.
maybe like 200?
34.
No.
So 4 months in, I had lost people. And because none of them were working, they didn't see the vision. It was a newer company, whatever, right? But that fourth month, I recruit a guy. He goes on to personally recruit 290 people in 90 days. He builds a team of over 10,000 people. And 2 people that I had recruited in the first 4 months go on to become six-figure earners.
Wow.
Why? Because a couple things. One, I kept doing the work, right? I kept showing up. I didn't say, come on, guys, go. What are you doing? Like, I'm like, I can only control me. I can't control them. So I kept doing the work. And then if you continue to do the work, you get lucky. You have someone that runs, and it might be your 4th month. It was for me, might be your 6th month, might be your 12th month, might be your 18th month. I don't know, right? Might be your 2nd month. And so, and another factor is I realized that later that some of my people saw that I was having success, and they didn't believe in themselves until they saw someone else have success. So when they saw the guy I recruited have success, then they're like, well, maybe I can do this. And so you don't know what's going to be the catalyst for getting your people to move. So I would say that's the number one secret is for you to continue to do the work. Don't let off. The second thing is culture. And so I wrote a book on leadership. It's called Freakishly Effective Leadership for Network Marketing. And culture is the allowing of people to feel good regardless of their level of desire or level of result. So most people, they operate like a sales manager. Okay. So it's almost, like they have a clipboard, like, hey, what are you doing today? Come on, Nancy, step it up. Right. They're like, or they'll call people and they're like, hey, how are you? Just checking in. How you doing? Right. And the person, all they hear is that they're a big fat disappointment. They're just like, oh, I'm busy. I'm sorry. Right. And people will not pay to be in a relationship where they feel like a disappointment. They will cancel so fast. So instead of the clipboard smacking sales manager, be the gym owner. So if I go to the gym and I get on the treadmill and I work out for 2 minutes, and take a picture by the weights that I don't even lift, get my 2,200 calorie peanut butter banana chocolate shake, right? And I walk out the door, what does the gym owner say? Way to go, buddy, right? He knows I'm gaining 3 pounds a day. Every time I go to the gym, I'm squeezing through the door because I'm not burning any calories. I'm only consuming a couple thousand, right? And he knows, but you know what? Maybe I'm happy going there. And he's okay with that. He's not addicted to me having 6-pack abs. And I'm not addicted to them having 6-figure success because that may not be what they want. They may not be able to fathom that. But if I pretend like my job is to get them wanting 6-pack abs, then if I'm the gym owner, I'll say, drop down and give me 20. Hey, get back over there and get back on that treadmill, biggin, right? Like I'm going to make them feel like a disappointment. I'm going to boss them around. I'm going to try to cram my goals down their throat, and they're going to stop their membership. Yes. And so the gym owner is the perfect analogy. Now, what if I go to the gym owner and I say, hey man, I want to get diesel. I want to get jacked. I want to pose in calendars, right? He'll say, great. He'll point, guide, and direct me to how to do that. So he'll say, here's the, fast start guide. Here's the call that we do on Thursdays. Here's the spin class. Here's this. And so it's not about, letting, not administering wisdom to anybody. It's about allowing them to feel good wherever they are and keep them around the campfire. And the longer you do that, the more likely they'll catch a spark. And when they catch a spark, you point, guide, and direct them how to do that.
For sure. So Ray, now that you are going into the future, like all of us after the pandemic, and now that there's so many technologies, if you had to start over, now that we have AI and Facebook is going through changes, Instagram, Shorts, YouTube, I mean, what platforms would you use with all your experience, all your knowledge, all your wisdom? You had to start over as a rep in a network marketing company. where would you start? What would you do? Which platform?
Yeah. So, fortunately, it's less nowadays about what platform, because most of them speak to each other so well. So on the marketing scene, the top of the food chain is Reels. So I would be posting, and this is actually what we do. I would be posting 3 Reels a day, and that would be on TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, right? So 1 video or 3 videos, right? So 3 short videos, less than a minute, and I would upload them to all of those, right? And I would do that, Monday through Friday at least, sometimes on the weekend. So that would be number 1. If I'm not generating leads, then I'm going to make sure that I have a numerical value of how many people am I asking if they're open to taking a look, or how many no's am I getting. When I first started, I went for 20 no's a day, which is pretty intense. Most people won't do that amount of work, but you'll get some yeses if you do that. And so I'm gonna now. If those 3 Reels a day are generating enough leads, then I may not have to reach out to people I don't know. I may just deal with the leads that I'm generating, and that's fine, right? There's nothing wrong with that. And so I'm still going to have for me, just for personal preference, I like Facebook and Instagram the most. I know some people like TikTok, some people like LinkedIn. Like for me, I like Facebook and Instagram the most. So that's where I'm going to concentrate my efforts, but I'm also absolutely going to have a local presence. And so I'm going to have local meetups, local trainings, and because I want to build connections locally. I live in Naples, Florida, and it was, I don't know, 13, 14 years ago that I was building in this town. I still meet people. They're like, "Oh my God, I remember being in your team. It was so awesome. Hey, cool." Like I'll be walking around town and people will be like, "Oh, Ray, I haven't seen you." And a lot of times it's because we had an experience in the team that I built. And so like, I love the idea because I have kids growing up. I want them to have more connections. I want to be connected to teachers and principals and pastors and, all these different things. So I'm going to build locally as well.
Wow. Oh, I know our time is almost up. I have a couple more questions for you if you're okay.
Sure.
Because I like to also humanize network marketing, because people look at us as crazy, superficial. We don't care about people. We're scammers,
Right.
And I like to humanize the profession, because there's great people in network marketing as in many other professions. And you're someone who's famous. You have a lot of attention coming to you. I've seen many people in network marketing sabotage themselves. Even I was scared of being, let's say, I'm not famous, but even out there, because we don't want to draw attention. I've always been chubby since I was a little kid. I mean, like I became a little shy, even though I'm always wanting to have fun and laugh. But I didn't want to draw attention to me before. And I know there's a lot of people who are scared or insecure. So how do you manage the attention? I know this is a long question, but how was your process? Was there resistance in you or not? What advice can you give people who are scared to just be out there? How is this, how can we deal with this social media attention to alleviate that tension of people not wanting to be just out there?
So this is a very deep question, and you're probably going to get more than you bargained for on here.
Thank you.
So I believe we all have what's called sacred wounds, and sacred wounds are what did you need most as a kid but didn't get. Now, I grew up in a very abusive home, and so the list is very long of things I didn't get. I didn't get safety, security, friendship, love, praise, recognition, importance. Like you just, there's not too many things I did get. The things that you needed most as a kid but didn't get are your sacred wounds, and very hard for you to ever accept them. So the reason that fame, or whatever we want to call it, recognition. The reason that never really affected me is I couldn't accept it. So I just couldn't accept it. Like I just couldn't, like I just didn't see myself as that. I just kept doing my thing, and people would come up to me and say, "Oh, you've changed my life." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I couldn't accept it. I couldn't process it because I didn't build the processing units as a kid. I couldn't receive it. Now, a scenario that's very common is if, as a little girl, a woman, if a little girl grows up without love, a lot of times she'll go through her life thinking no one loves her because she can't accept it. Someone who is, what I've found from coaching a lot of people is, if you struggle with recognition, like you just don't like it, like it just feels gross and you just don't want it, you have siblings. And usually the person that is opposed to recognition was the good sibling. And what they realized as a kid is, the parents were like, "Why can't you be more like your sister?" Right? So what they processed was, when I get praise or recognition, someone else hurts, and I don't like that. And they carry that with them their entire life. And so they'll actually try to hide under the radar. They're like, "Oh, don't pick me." They'll try to avoid recognition because they still have this program that thinks when I get recognized, someone else gets hurt. Okay. Now, there's two pieces of good news. All right. Number one, whatever your sacred wound is, you're very good at giving. So I was always very good at giving love. I was always very good at giving security, and I am. I'm good at giving the things that I never received. And that's when you feel best. When you give the things that you never received, you feel good. You feel bad when you seek them. So if you can train yourself to stop seeking that thing and start giving that thing, you'll change your whole life. The second piece of good news is, and I've tried a lot of stuff. I've tried a lot of therapy, hypnosis, meditation. There is something that can cure you and heal you of your sacred wounds, and that's Jesus Christ. After I came to Jesus less than 6 months ago, all of a sudden, I wasn't suspicious of my friends. All of a sudden, I wasn't insecure in my marriage. All of a sudden, I didn't have self-worth issues. And, I used to get massive social anxiety. If I'm speaking on stage, no problem. But if I'm hanging out with everyone and they start talking personally and asking personal questions, I remember hyperventilating. I was speaking at Russell Brunson's event, and I had to go back to my hotel room. I was hyperventilating. And I just had this massive social anxiety, which was all a self-worth issue from past things. Christ healed all that. I literally don't have any of those traits anymore. And so when I'm going anywhere in any capacity, I know the Lord is with me, and I don't need the approval of man. I got his approval, and that's good enough. And so I just don't, if you struggle with sacred wounds, there is a way to heal it. And there's only one way that I'm aware of.
Wow, this is amazing. And you don't know this, but I have 2 podcasts. This is a new podcast for network marketing, because my other podcast was consciousness, awareness with some humor, but I felt I couldn't talk about network marketing there. Yeah. Network marketing is my life. So that's why I have 2, but if you're open maybe in the future to talk about these sacred wounds in my other podcast, I think lots of people need to hear about this, because you don't know why you're depressed. You don't know why you're insecure. You don't know why you're anxious. And a lot of it comes from, maybe most of it, from those wounds. So this is amazing. Thank you, Ray. And where can people, I have one last question for the end, but before, where can people find you? Where can they take your seminars? I mean, follow you, you're everywhere, but if somebody wants to learn more, where can they find you?
Yeah, if you're looking to improve like prospecting and get help around that, we have a free prospecting power up. It's at higdongroup.com/5day, the number 5 DAY. And that's our prospecting power up. It teaches you where to find people, what to say to them, gives you a little bit more, depth in that. And it's free. And then a lot of people like follow me on Instagram. It's just at Ray Higdon.
Wow. Okay. So last question. What can you say? Because there's always going to be tough times, and for sure you must have had plenty of those. Or when you're faced with negativity, challenges, even negative people, drama. I mean, do you have a ritual? Do you have even, I mean, before you found Christ? Because I know now that's your that's your answer for everything. I know. But before that, I mean, do you have a ritual or practice? And what advice can you give to somebody who might be like me? Because for a month, many days, I thought I'm going to quit today. I'm just not going to just disappear. I'm going to go say thank you to my uplines. I'm going to say goodbye to my friends. And then I got the audios in the car. And then when I got there, these audios would say, okay, I'll wait. I'm not going to quit. But I know there's people who are literally thinking of quitting soon. So what can you say to them? So before we say goodbye?
Yeah. And you even gave a great example of this. I would say speak to yourself more than you listen to yourself. And so what I mean by that is, so even before I came, to Christ, if I found myself in a negative place, I would catch it and be like, wait a minute, that's not what I want. And I would speak, what do I want? What do I want in this moment? What do I want out of my life? Who do I want to be? And so I would speak what I actually wanted versus just sit there and listen. Who are you? You're an idiot. Oh, you failed again. This will never work out, right? That's when you're just listening to yourself passively. And I really believe that that's the enemy trying to keep you from your destiny. And so speak to yourself. And I use a lot of verses, right? If the Lord is with me, who can be against me, right? I can accomplish all things through Christ, right? And so now I'll use more biblical kind of verses. But for years I've been, if I got negative, I'm like, ooh, I don't let that program run. I don't let it just all of a sudden my day's ruined. I don't have ever bad days. I may have a bad moment. I may have a bad minute. I may have a bad half hour. I do not have a bad hour. I do not have a bad day. I definitely don't have a bad week. So it's catching that negativity as quickly as you can, because there's a neurochemical thing that happens. If you let it run, you become addicted to it. And all of a sudden you start letting it run every day. Every day it's just a negative train. The more that you interrupt that process and you break that stronghold and you break that chain, the less you actually will crave it. Because you can actually crave things that are not good for you, right? You can crave bad feelings. But if you break that chain and you start getting quicker at catching that negativity, then you're going to have a chance to really turn your life around.
Oh my God, this is so amazing, so inspiring. Thank you, Ray. Really, really, truly, I appreciate it, because I want more people to have network marketing change their lives. Like it changed mine and yours and thousands. So thank you so much. Goodbye. I hope we can talk soon.
Yes, me too. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.